Hello everyone, Grandmaster Akobian here, and we're going to take a look at another game from the GM section of 1000 GM tournament. And this is a game against International Master Dimitar Mardov against FIDE Master KRETCHETOV. So let's take a look at this game. There were some very interesting moments, and actually I discussed the game with FIDE Master KRETCHETOV and have some good ideas where he could have played better. There were some good chances for black in this game. So let's take a look in this game. So we have e45, knight f3. So the opening was more or less, I think, some theory here. So we won't be spending too much time on it. But I think later on, it got very interesting. In particular, there were several moments in the game. So from a first glance, if you look at the position, it looks like white is doing well. They play f4, but I thought this few moves here was very well played by black. The next few moves, starting out right here, move 13. So knight takes d4, d4 and queen b4. First of all, gaining a tempo and hitting the bishop. So bishop has to go, and then immediately the move d5 came, which is very important to force the e-pawn move. So if e5 is played, some bishop f5 ideas coming up. So basically to creating squares. So this is a very nice idea to do, because if we don't do anything, white has the control of the center. So that's why he did that. d5, e5, and now we have, it looks really nice. White is advancing, but that gives black good squares. Now the bishop can go to, and a lot of good squares. So he goes bishop f5, queen e3, and now a5. Again, now black is playing on the queen side now, because now the threat is to play a4, attacking the bishop. If the bishop moves, the b2 pawn is hanging. So I played a3, queen b6. There are some really good squares for black in this position. So a5, a4, c6. Perhaps c6 maybe it wasn't the best. Maybe the move like bishop d7 could have been played here before. So he played c6.
Was he going for a pawn change, kind of like we saw in the last game, or
I
like
think
to solidify the structure there?
Yes, absolutely. First, I think the plan is to move the bishop and then jump in with a knight on f5 at some point. So that's why the idea was to play c6 to make sure the d5 pawn is guarded. So h3 and now h5. Again, there is a fight. There is a big fight for the g4 square here, because white wants to play g4 and then push the bishop back and then the control. So that's why h5 was a good move, I think, to prevent that. So now rook a1 came in, and now rook ac8. Okay, perhaps king g7 was a better attempt here. So white is a little bit better here, but now black is going to get really active. Queen c3. I did not like this decision too much, because I don't think black is afraid to go to endgame. In fact, endgames are actually preferable for black in this position, because white's pawns are a little bit overextended, like the pawn on d4 and a4.
So the king will race first, like he'll be able to chase to the center.
Not only king, the pawns are a little bit too advanced. The a4 pawn is loose, d4 pawn, f4. All these pawns you see, they're overextended a little bit. So they require protection all the time. So,
and they're on dark squares, and you don't have a dark square bishop. So
now he goes here. And here is a critical moment here. And a5 was played by Mardov, trying to, not sure if that's the best move. Maybe king f2 was better. But here, black had a very strong move here. Black played bishop, pawn takes pawn, which is fine. But here, strong move was c5, taking advantage of the fact that c5 square is guarded. And if take on b6, then now c4. And now look at this
now
pawn.
it's spiking right through. Yeah.
Exactly. Bishop goes back here now, rook b8, and now pick up the pawn on b6, and this is going to be a clear advantage for black here. So
yeah, because then you slide the other rook over to c8, and it's over.
Yeah, this was a missed opportunity for black, because I think now
why are those moves so hard to see over the board? Is because there's a lot of like withholding from like breaking tensions, or like why are these types of ideas so hard to see? Because it's just like they're not capture based; they're like advanced based.
Yes, yeah, it's just not so easy to spot this stuff. So, but even later on, there were some good opportunities here. So it looks like black is just dominating here. Knight is coming on f5, d4 is hanging, and here bishop b4, and here just white finds the only move here. Otherwise, the move is threatening to take on f3 and pick up the pawn on d4. Looks like a nice advantage here after taking knight d4. But here, Mardov comes out with the only idea, g4. To keep the game going. Still advantage for black, and I think right here where we perhaps see the first mistake maybe for black here. But if black played knight g7, with the idea to reroute the knight on e6, it's still, I think, I would prefer block in this position.
Yeah, because you're forking the pawns basically.
Yeah,
right
but
away.
he played here, and now takes, and this was already, the game was, some time pressure situation. So now king f2, bishop g4, rook g1, and now the idea is to play some bishop f5. So king h7, bishop c2, and I think that's the last game, last moment of the game. Looks like the threat is rook g4 is very strong, and then bishop takes f5 is coming up. So
I think it's interesting that the eval is so subtle here, but the players understand the practical threat so well that it's still, they could see this and be like, oh yeah, of course. Where there's other positions with the eval bar is like slamming a player into the wall, and then but there's actually no practical way that a human would ever find that line. I just think that's an interesting thing.
Yeah. The problem is the king position here in this position. The king is just a little bit weak on h4, but black had some really, really good chances here. So it was very interesting.
If they were to play on here, so if they were to play on here for a theoretical
what
draw,
happened after bishop c2? There was maybe there were a couple of more moves played, but the threat is.
Can you click through the computer ideas just to see how they would resolve?
Yeah. So king h8 looks like the only move, and then bishop a4 comes in. Yeah, it's already
heating up
for white, heating up, and c6 is dropping, so it's a little bit easier to play for white in this position.
He'll be able to slide the rook over to c1, like rook gc1, and then I think it's gonna break down from there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, that makes sense.
That was
a very
conclusion of this game, and Dimitar Mardov is doing quite well so far, and in this tournament, so he's one of the players who has chances to obtain his GM norm. He has so far 5 out of after 5 games he has 4 points.
What is the big lesson from this game? Like when you're playing black pieces in an event like this,
look for your breakthroughs. Look for your breakthroughs.
It's all about the pawns.
Opportunities. Opportunities. Like I think it is a very good moment, very good lesson to learn here. So when the a5 move was played, there's just a c5 was just giving black some serious advantage here.
Yeah, so creating these pushes. Yeah, and so this one, like even here, like if you're following practical ideas, you're saying, oh, I should take the center pawn because my wing pawn is worse, or some type of oversimplification like that. Where here it's just like, no, just shove this pawn, and you're gonna have a great position. So
absolutely. So this concludes this game, and we will have more game analysis coming up for this round as well. Okay. So hope you guys enjoyed this analysis.